The left and the Democrats are losing. James O'Keefe did an undercover investigation where he found that they were low-level federal employees trying to obstruct some of the Trump administration policies, basically. And so you can see that while they are sludging things up for the Trump administration, for the right, they're just losing. Kanye West, one of the latest celebrities to come out supporting Donald Trump, and they're obviously mad about it. For those that aren't aware, not too long ago, it was like last week, I think, Kanye West, after the show had ended, went on a tirade about his support for Trump, how he was being bullied, and how that hat represented his freedom. That you couldn't tell him what to do. He called himself free. And I felt like this speech was spot on because a lot of what I see from the left is snooty elitism and a failure to self-reflect, to recognize their own faults. That's why my video on my main channel was about the Democrats' losing streak. Because no matter what happens, my focus is primarily on the left, right? I definitely talk about Republicans, but there was an interesting conversation I had where someone was like, Tim, you made a post about the Democrats losing. Why don't you talk about the Republicans? And I said, the Republicans won. And they're like, yeah, well, why don't you talk about it? And I'm like, what do you want me to say? The Republicans won. Their strategy worked. What else? See, people are getting upset that because the left is losing, I'll make a post where I'm like, hey guys, I'm on the left too. Maybe you shouldn't do something like this, like the article you see pulled up right now. And the response is, maybe you should criticize the conservatives. Why? They're winning. They're winning. What they're doing is working. I need to focus on the left who's failing and say, this is why you're failing and this is what you need to do to win. I'm not going on the offensive. I'm not going to Republicans and trying to like pull, throw a wrench in their spokes. What they're doing works. Whatever it is that they're doing is working. And whatever it is the left is doing is not working. Kanye West, I heard, I don't know if this is true, but I heard after he came out in support of Trump, a bunch of young black men then started supporting Trump because they trust Kanye. They look to him. They say that, Kanye West is a musical genius. So he does get a lot of respect on other issues. Personally, I don't like it when celebrities rally support because celebrities aren't experts. We have the story it's from BuzzFeed. Pete Davidson hated Kanye West's SNL monologue and told him so. And this is the perfect example of what I keep telling the left not to do, but they don't care. They don't want to listen to me because clearly my criticizing them just means that I'm actually a conservative, which I'm not. I just don't like the fact that they're assholes. Plain and simple. Look at this. Quote, being mentally ill is not an excuse to be a jackass, okay? What? This dude literally talks about how he takes pills. That's not an excuse for you to insult other people. Not only that, this guy comes out insulting Kanye West. The audience is laughing. They're loving it. They love that he's ragging on Kanye West for being mentally ill. Where's the ableism? Where's the rallying against ableism now? You think it's funny to make fun of people who have mental problems? This is what really blows my mind. The left loves to rag on everybody. They claim to be fighting for all of these really great things. Obviously not everybody on the left. I just mean like this regressive, illiberal left. They want to talk about how incels are disgusting, misogynists, and I'm like, dude, these are people with like social anxiety issues. There's something they need help with. Why are you being mean? Why is it like, people on my Facebook, I mentioned this the other day in a video, somebody was like talking about how they went up and started swearing at a Trump supporter, and I'm like, why? Why would you justify being so hateful? Kanye West came out on Saturday Night Live and started talking about how he felt. He didn't attack anybody. He said, I know you disagree and I respect you all for letting me come out and do this. I'm like, wow, that's noble. And what happens? This dude comes in here and mocks him for being mentally ill. I don't know if Kanye West is actually mentally ill, but it's insane to me that the party of snobbery and elitist opinion thinks they're the ones fighting hate. And this is what I can't stand. It's a damn shame that when it comes to policy, they're the ones who are supposedly championing the things that I like when it comes to government. Because they're bad people. This dude is an asshole. Seriously. Look, there's no reason to make fun of people who are mentally ill. And you're saying it's no excuse to be a jackass. Well, bro, look in a mirror. Kanye West wasn't mean to you. He wasn't. He's just a dude who wanted to have something to say because he felt like people were pushing him down. So what do? You come out and start pushing him down. And all this will do is to all the people who are unsure, who are unsure about whether or not they're going to see one dude who's being a total prick, and they're going to see Kanye being like, come on, man, stop bullying me. And they're going to see a guy bullying him. And this guy says he wishes he bullied him more. Pete Davidson is not happy with Kanye West. Appearing as himself on Saturday Night Live's Weekend Update segment, the 24-year-old comedian said that West's unplanned monologue in support of Donald Trump at the end of last week's SNL episode was one of the worst, most awkward things I've ever heard, and I've seen Chevy Chase speak to an intern. Look, I get it, you're a comedian, you want to rag on people because it's about comedy. The problem here is you're just proving Kanye West right, plain and simple. It's you know, West had asserted during his monologue that SNL cast members and crew had tried to convince him not to wear a Make America Great Again hat, a claim that Davidson denies Saturday. He said he wore it all week like nobody told him not to wear it. Were you with Kanye West 24/7? This is what's mind-blowing to me. Kanye West said people didn't want him wearing the hat. I believe him. This dude wasn't attached to the hip attached to Kanye's hip. Does he know exactly what happened? No, probably not. He's just being mean and proving Kanye West right. This is the craziest thing to me. Because the Republicans keep winning. And every time I go to people on the left and I'm like, hey, just so you know, like, this is like BS, they get mad at me. They tell me that I made a post where I said Bernie Sanders, Noam Chomsky, Chris Hedges have all called it the violence. And then I listed 3 sources. You've got the progressive candidates are losing. The Cynthia Nixon lost Cortez's district by 30 points. And riots are making America conservative. And in no way was I saying like everyone on the left is bad, social justice is bad, feminism. No, I was literally like, dude, we have to stop this. And the response was that I need to talk about the right, not the left. What? The left is losing. The right doesn't need advice. They're winning. Like, I don't know what you'd expect me to do. I'm sitting here watching the Republicans win time and time again, and I'm getting frustrated because they're right. When I talk to my friends, they post nonsense from propaganda outlets. Yes, they exist on the left and the right. They do. And they post this ridiculous nonsense. And I say to them, hey, just so you know, like, that's a fake news website. And they start screaming at me, oh, you're lying. Oh, man, you're a conservative. I'm like, dude, I read stories on this channel from BuzzFeed and Vox primarily. Like, you'll notice that probably most of the articles I read on this, maybe not most, but most of I would say if there's any websites that I read more than anything else, it's BuzzFeed and Vox. And then I fact check them. And I know they're biased. BuzzFeed's actually pretty okay, but they are biased. They are. I read a lot. I actually read Breitbart. I never use Breitbart as a source because I think they're much worse than BuzzFeed and Vox. Huffington Post can get some stuff good, some stuff bad. I'm sitting at my Twitter account, and I have Antifa. I have literal Antifa accounts, Antifa activists, and far-left journalists, as well as right-wing personalities. And I'm looking at the disparity, where you have people like this dude, Pete Davidson. This is, in my opinion, if I was going to break it down, I'd say this guy represents one of the more common tropes among the left. The snooty elitist, I don't know what I'm talking about, but you're a dumbass and I'm going to mock you for being mentally ill. And Kanye West represents most of what I see on the right. When I look at people who are like right-wing personalities with a lot of followers, they're typically acting defensively saying, hey, no, I don't mean that. I'm sorry. This is what I really want. Yes, there are trolls on the right who are posting things right now like, Pence and Kavanaugh are going to take away women's rights. And it's trolling and it's humorous. And probably for some people, it's not a joke. And that's bad optics too. And it's unnecessary and it makes everything worse. No doubt. But there are absolutely people on the left who do the same thing. When it comes to personalities, I tend to find that you've got like left-leaning and right-leaning individuals who are pretty okay. They're pretty okay. Like, like a moderate conservative journalist who doesn't have like a ton of followers, maybe like 10 or 20,000 followers, will say things that you're like, oh, that's a conservative. And the liberal journalist will go, oh, that's a liberal. But for the most part, you can actually see them interact with each other amicably. Then you have people who are more like dug-in personalities supporting Trump. And they'll have a lot of followers. I typically see them act like how Kanye did, saying like, hey man, stop being mean. We're just supporting the president. Sometimes they can be snarky and rude. Absolutely, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying they're not. But this is one of the more common things I see, where it's just like constantly mocking and insulting everybody. And you know what? It's possible I'm in a bubble. Absolutely. I don't think I know all the answers. But my job and what I do and part of who I am has always been about just like trying to keep things balanced and truly step outside of my space. So on my Twitter account, I've got all the mainstream news websites. I've got some left-leaning and some right-leaning. In fact, I would actually argue that my Twitter leans left. So maybe that's why I maybe see more of this kind of snarky snobbery. But I try to make sure it's balanced. And this is like a really good example, in my opinion, of this trope. Davidson continued, I wish I bullied you. Seriously. I wish I suggested that, it might upset some people like your wife and every black person ever you know. This is crypto racism, right? The left likes to use crypto fascism. Basically what it means is this is a presumably white guy. I think he's white. He looks white. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't want to assume his race. And he's telling a black man that every other black person hates him for him having said this, which is complete. And look, I get he's making a joke. I get it. But he's exemplifying exactly what Kanye was talking about. Being picked on, being made the butt of the joke. I get it. I went to a Joe Rogan show. He made fun of everybody. Yeah, that's fine. Jokes are fine. I understand humor. I'm not saying he shouldn't be allowed to say it. I'm just saying whether or not you agree with, and I'll say this too. I actually think this dude's really funny. I thought his bit was pretty funny. What bothers me though is that in this political climate, targeting, going after one side who didn't go after you is creating a lot of problems. At the Joe Rogan show, he said, hey, Trump supporters, hey, Hillary supporters and Democrats, and I'm like, he's going after everybody, and that's fair, and that's good, because if you can get the crowd to laugh at all sides, like everybody was laughing when he joked about Trump and Hillary, I'm like, that's a good thing. People can recognize their own faults, whatever side they're on. It's unifying to have someone be like, hey, everybody's crazy, let's just be people. In this instance, Kanye was actually calling for compassion. And he was like, I wish, he's like, I know some of you disagree with me, but I just want to be able to say my thing. And in response, insult him for being mentally ill, Kanye is a genius, but like a musical genius, Davidson added. Like, Joey Chestnut is a hot dog eating genius, but I don't want to hear his opinion about things that aren't hot dog related. Yeah, and you're a comedian. I don't want to hear your opinion about politics either. Dude, this guy needs to look in a mirror. I get it, it's a bit, he's targeting the left. He might not even actually mean anything he's saying. But if that's the case, regardless, Saturday Night Live is going up, after Kanye made this speech, he went on this tirade, SNL uses their platform on air to attack him. Kanye's speech didn't air. The only people who saw it were fans who actually, saw it go viral and watched it, and probably people who were interested. But the average person didn't. So they took the time to go on the air when Kanye didn't have an opportunity to respond, when Kanye's voice wasn't even heard, and just ridicule him. You know what? I think they could have mocked Kanye for doing the tirade. Absolutely. I think it could be done. I think the way they did it was just mean-spirited and divisive, and it's really bad for our country. I want to stress that I think this guy is funny. He's got a really great presentation. I actually think the bit is really funny, and I respect the right to make offensive jokes. Absolutely. I understand that sometimes people make jokes at the expense of others too. I get it. If it's intended to be uniting, right? So while I'm not saying he shouldn't have the right to do it, I just personally take issue with both sides. This is not unique to just the left, right? Like I was mentioning, there are people making like horrible jokes about women and women's rights, of course, and I think it's all bad. But this is a guy who's on Saturday Night Live, and he's digging into Kanye when Kanye wasn't digging back. And I think that's just starting a fight for no reason. And I guarantee that there are going to be a bunch of Trump supporters who see this, and they're going to be like, why? Kanye didn't air, you didn't air Kanye's speech. It was like kind of a private thing that didn't go on TV. Why then would you go on TV and mock him? This is the problem I have. Not so much by all means make fun of Kanye, of course. But the problem I have is, I like winning. I do. I like winning. And I have always been someone who is, more left. Like when I was younger, many of you know, I was much more like anarcho-punk. Now I'm just like a regular old social lib. I like winning. And when I see this, I'm like, this is why you lose. This is why you lose. I went to a Trump party, and I can't tell you how many people I met who used to be Occupy Wall Street supporters. How many people were supporters of Bernie Sanders who became Trump? There's a lot of them. And you need to ask yourself why you lost them. And it's partly this. Now, look, I think I'm kind of venting and redirecting a lot of my anger because for the most part, this wasn't that bad. It's not really that bad. Again, this dude's actually really funny. I think his presentation's phenomenal. I'm just sick and tired of seeing the institutional, the cultural power of the left mock those who used to be on their side. I am one of these Bernie people they lost. And I refuse to give up on my values. A lot of people I know consider themselves conservative now, and I don't understand how you can become conservative. It doesn't work for me. I still believe what I believe, and no one's going to change my opinion. And I'm absolutely going to call out the mean, snarky people that are that are losing. Just absolutely losing. Whatever. Anyway, stick around. I got a couple more videos coming up in just a few minutes.